Good day all. I'm Theo Sabia, the Managing Partner for Kearney, Africa, based in our Johannesburg office. Welcome to our International Women's Day event, part of a series of events worldwide this week. At Kearney, we recognize that gender parity is not just a goal, it's a fundamental mandate and an inherent right. We remain committed to driving meaningful change and fostering inclusivity through a diverse range of initiatives. International Women's Day serves as an annual opportunity for us to reflect on critical women's issues on a global scale, and at a time for us to express gratitude and recognition for the incredible women within our firm, our alumni, clients, and communities. Over the past year, we have witnessed remarkable acceleration across the technological landscape, including the rise of generative AI. We have also witnessed unprecedented extreme weather events and heightened geopolitical conflicts that continue to instigate uncertainty and instability worldwide. In today's world, volatility seems to be the only constant, and while change brings opportunities, it also presents risks, especially those that disproportionately affect women. Despite the promise of AI in enhancing workforce productivity and advancement, gender bias persists within our technological models. These biases, often rooted in the majority male developers who create them, pose significant challenges. Moreover, women predominantly occupy roles at risk of being replaced by AI, exacerbating existing disparities. And healthcare research models frequently fail to account for women's unique needs, leading to misdiagnosis and worse outcomes. We are inextricably interconnected, and together we can enable the well-being of people and communities as a power for good in a future that works for everyone. The strongest, healthiest businesses and individuals of the future will be those embracing regenerative thinking with this people-first mentality. Today, it's an honor for Kearney to host Tina B, who will share her inspiring story, applying a human-centered, women-informed lens to AI in healthcare. Through her lived experience, she exemplifies the essence of regeneration. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate International Women's Day and reaffirm our unwavering commitment to gender equality and inclusivity.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to all of those who are joining us from across the globe virtually on our live stream, as well as to all the faces that we see in the room today. Thank you for choosing to be a part of this conversation with us. This promises to be an eye-opening, inspiring, and thought-provoking conversation. Today, we are going to delve into the narrative that intertwines human resilience with the intricate threads of technology, a narrative that poses the profound question, why Tina? At any one given time, there are over 4,000 people on the organ transplant list, all of whom are awaiting a chance at a renewed life. And the decision to go with one candidate over the other has always been a very challenging matter, one that we as a society are looking more and more to automate and make data-driven. But as we integrate artificial intelligence more into healthcare decision-making, we have a responsibility to bring innovation and inclusivity together. We must ask ourselves, is the algorithmic hand that is dealt empathetic to the human condition? Is it informed by the unique human experience? And does it adequately consider diverse gender perspectives and the distinct medical needs of its recipients? It's no secret that most AI systems have been trained on data sets that don't fully represent the diversity of our world, that typically under or sometimes even misrepresent women, leading to misdiagnoses or worse, as Theo has mentioned. Women's healthcare needs have often been an afterthought in these systems. So how do we ensure that AI does not continue to perpetuate these oversights? As a start, the conversation needs to go beyond the surface of AI's potential to also consider its shortcomings and blind spots. Yes, we as humans have blind spots, but so does the technology that we develop. This calls us to challenge the notion that everything that counts can be counted. There are nuances in healthcare, especially in women's healthcare, that algorithms may not fully be able to grasp or understand. Think about the pain that isn't captured on the medical charts. Think about the symptoms that are dismissed. Think about the high propensity for women to contract certain conditions. Think about the societal pressures that influence how we respond and how we move through life. How can AI understand these if they aren't coded into its language? And how do we ensure that they are? When it comes to human behavior and resilience of the mind, which we'll definitely hear from Tina today, there are certain things that data cannot collect or record, recognize, or determine trends for. Remember, not everything that counts can actually be counted. So this isn't a conversation about science versus the human lens. This is about bringing the best of both together. The intent is not to replace the human element, but to enhance it and ensure that as we further entrench AI into healthcare decision-making, that it enables representative, responsible, and inclusive decision-making. This year's International Women's Day theme is to inspire inclusion. And in true Kearney form, we've taken that one step further and made it actionable. And our tailored, firm-wide theme for International Women's Day is creating a future that works for all. If we truly are serious about creating a future that works for everyone, if we are committed to fostering an equitable and inclusive environment, whether that's in the healthcare sector or any other industry, then we need to be accountable to that. We must be willing to have honest conversations, think critically about how representative the solutions that we create are, one, of the world that we live in today, but two, of the kind of world that we are trying to build. We need to recognize the shortcomings and the risks of these solutions and innovations, and we need to own the responsibility of correcting for those shortcomings by deliberately and intentionally addressing them. And that starts with the kind of conversation we're going to have today. However, today we are going to take a bit more of a human-centered lens, because we have the honor of hearing the true and lived experience of Tina Beck-Bessinger, who goes by Tina B. Her incredible journey as the longest surviving heart and bilateral lung transplant recipient in Africa, who now stands here several years later as a motivational speaker, a life coach, a surgery coach, and much more, is incredibly inspiring. She continues to share her story, to make the most of her second chance at life, and to impact the lives of so many others through her strength, her resilience, and her true embodiment of regeneration. I'll leave the introduction at that for now, because I know we're all very curious to hear the story directly from herself. But I'd like to urge you all to please remember that Tina's journey could have been starkly different in this AI-driven era. As we reflect on her path and the path of many others, let's look towards a future where AI is not just about algorithms and data sets, but about the hearts and the breaths that it is looking to save, about the men and the women that it aims to help, especially in the healthcare sector, where these are truly matters of life and death, and making a conscious effort to ensure that there is inclusivity can truly lead to a just world. Let's pledge to create a future where technology is not blind to gender, to emotion, or to the very essence that makes us human. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Tina B to the stage.
Just like many of you, I was born with 10 fingers and 10 toes. Beautiful little baby girl. They could tell me apart in the nursery by the tiny little bruise I had on my forehead. I hadn't come easily. My heartbeat was fast and irregular. My lips, my fingertips, and my toes were a light shade of blue, something they attributed to the difficult birth. Like I say, the bruise showed the fact that the doctor had had to take a pair of forceps, medical tongs, to pull me out. I didn't want to come. Perhaps I knew the difficult road that lay ahead of me. Nonetheless, voted healthy with 10 fingers and 10 toes, my parents took me home. Now, Mum and Dad, their opinion differs on why I landed up at the GP. Nevertheless, I landed up at the GP. And as with all GP visits, he started listening to my chest to assess if there was any infection or anomalies. He turned me over and listened to the back, and then the front, and then the back, and over, and over. And you, as a parent, can you imagine? My parents were starting to panic. Eventually, the GP looked up at them and said, "There's something I don't like the sound of. I would like for Tina to see a specialist." It was then that I was assigned to go to Wentworth Hospital. It was the premier cardiac hospital at the time down in KZN. And I went for a procedure called an angiogram, a little procedure where they cut a slit in your groin, they insert a camera up through your abdomen into your chest, and they have a little look around. Results of the little look around? Less than stellar. I was diagnosed with 3 holes, a missing tricuspid valve. Now, a tricuspid valve separates the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood in your body. So right from birth, I wasn't getting enough oxygen. Not only that, but I had narrowed arteries between the heart and lungs, which eventually led to a rare disease called pulmonary hypertension, essentially high blood pressure in the lungs. My heart, because I had not enough oxygen, was beating faster than normal and irregularly. Well, doctors, what can we do? This is our little girl. Modern medical science has come so far. What can we do? Fix our baby. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. We can put her on some medication to slow her heart rate. Okay, so how long is she going to live? You'll be lucky if she makes her teens. Now, my folks, they don't usually take no for an answer. They're positive. They're fighters. So they decided I needed a second opinion. They packed me in the car, along with all our belongings, and we took the long drive from Durban down to Cape Town to the Red Cross Children's Hospital. There, I underwent the exact same procedure. The results? Exactly the same. You'll be lucky if she makes her teens. Like I say, positive parents. They'd grown up on a farm, outdoors. They were sporty and athletic. My mom's business was sports. And so they didn't wrap me in cotton wool. They decided they'd give me the best life for as long as I was with them. I always knew I had a heart condition, but let's be fair, what does that mean to a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old? I knew that when I was tired, I had to stop. But I got tired so much quicker than everyone else. We used to play catches at break. And we'd all start off, but I was always the first one to get caught. Always. I was the slowest. I couldn't breathe. Then I would spend the whole rest of break being on. And when I wanted to rest because I couldn't breathe anymore, I was labeled a bad sport. On to primary school. I loved running around with my friends. I enjoyed sport. I come from a very athletic background. I was great at hockey. I could have been a great center. I loved long jump, even hurdles. And I loved swimming, especially on those hot Durban days, 40 degrees. Oh, what do you know? We're in the pool at PE. I couldn't do crawl or freestyle. But I mastered breaststroke. I mastered breaststroke. Calmer, easier, slower. This one day, we were doing PE, physical education, and I don't know, this teacher, she must have been having like a seriously bad hair day, or she'd been dumped by her boyfriend, I don't know. All the school had been briefed that if Tina needs to rest and asks, let her stop, she needs to breathe. They knew I had a condition. So we were doing laps around the field, as you do, and I pushed myself and pushed myself and pushed myself because I was tired of always being last and stopping first. Eventually, I couldn't breathe anymore. And I went to the teacher and I said, Miss, please, I can't breathe. Can I have a break? She looked at me. She took off at me. I'm sick and tired of you, and you lazy, and you just pretending, and I don't want to see your face in my class ever again. Go and get changed. It shattered me. If she only knew how hard I really was trying. From then on, I was renegated to the library on my own to do work, while everyone else was having fun outside. Remember I told you the doctors said I wouldn't see my teens? What do they know? I've always been a rebel. I made it to my 13th birthday. Killer party. First ever disco. We kitted out the garage. We didn't have a lot of money, so Mum went to the yogurt factory and they gave her all those tinfoil cutouts, long strips of them. We took those and we hung them from the garage ceiling, and then we put a mirror ball. Sparkles everywhere. It was amazing. Told you, I made it to 13. I was in high school. It was the school holidays. I was about to start my standard 7. I think that's grade 9 now. And Mum and I had got back. And when you come back from holiday, cupboards are bare, grocery shop. So off we go to the grocery store. Now bear in mind, it's been the summer holidays. I'm 13 years old. I'm slim. I've got long blonde hair all the way to my bum. I've been spending my time in the sun, by the sea and by the swimming pool. My hair is sun-kissed golden. My body, tanned bronze. I'm in a tiny pair of ski shorts and a small crop top. And I am on top of the world. This year, I'm in standard 7. I'm going to rule the world. So we get to the grocery store and we bump into a boy I know from school. Not just any boy. He's in the first team for everything. He's tall, handsome, dark hair, blue eyes, built, and the only person in the whole school that drives himself with his own car to school. I lucked out. He was chatting to me. We chatted. He asked me some questions. Eventually, my mum comes to me and she's like, okay, I've done the whole grocery shop by myself. I've paid. I've taken the groceries to the car and loaded them by myself. We now, little one, need to go. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Thanks, Mom. He still took my number. Get in the car. Oh my gosh, Mom, he's amazing. I'm so full of it. All I want to do is gush and tell her all about the conversation. Rah, 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 rah. And she says to me, I'm tired. It's been a long journey. So let's get home, unpack, I'll make a cup of tea, and when I'm lying on my bed, you can tell me all about it. So I'm standing at the end of her bed. She's lying on her bed, she's got her tea. Now, I've always been a little bit dramatic. So I'm regaling Mum with everything that's happened, and I'm marveling at how lucky I am and how good looking this young gentleman is. And while describing him, I take a deep breath, and I'm like, oh, Mum, he's so, and I fall backwards onto the floor. My mum bursts out laughing. Oh, dramatic child. But I didn't get back up. My mum leaned forward, peered over the end of her bed. I was out cold, turning blue. My mum screamed for help. They managed to get me into the car. Mom drove the 1 kilometer to the medical center up the road. She said it was really, honestly, that 1 kilometer drive was the longest of her life. All she could hear was me gasping and gurgling for air. She drove up the wheelchair ramp, through the glass doors into the waiting room, hopped out and screamed for help. The doctor checked me for signs of life. I had no pulse. My eyes were rolled back into my head. I wasn't breathing. He shook his head, looked at my mum, and said, "I'm sorry, she's gone." Now, I told you my mum's positive and a fighter. She hopped into action and started doing her version of CPR. Eventually, the doctor took over, and they brought me back. I was rushed in an ambulance to the local hospital. I was stabilized, and my team had to decide what was going on with me. So, the best course of action, a pacemaker. Now, a pacemaker is usually reserved for, I don't know, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s. I was 13. Why did I need a pacemaker? My heart had stopped. So, how a heart works is that it has tendons running from the top to the bottom. And when it beats, those tendons pass an electrical impulse, top and bottom. Now, the heart is a muscle. Like any good muscle, my heart worked hard. When muscles work hard, they grow. My heart muscle had grown so big that those tendons had, like an elastic band, stretched so far that an electrical impulse could not pass, and my heart had stopped. So a pacemaker attached to my heart in 2 places, top and bottom, so to ensure that if a natural impulse didn't pass, a mechanical one would. And like I say, I defied the odds. I went through high school. I eventually got to the point where I was 21, studying public relations, which I absolutely loved. It so suited my personality. I don't know if you can tell I'm a bit of a people's person. I was having so much fun. I was always in the top 3 with my marks. I had a great group of girlfriends. And we were studying during the day and, don't tell my folks, partying at night. But I started putting on weight. Shooter lifestyle, better swap the chips and cheese sauce for salad. But no matter what I did, I couldn't shift the weight. I went eventually to the cardiologist for my annual checkup. And we discovered there that the weight was actually water retention, a buildup of fluid in my system, because my heart was in failure. What is heart failure? It means the heart is not pumping properly. And so when it's not pumping properly, it can't get rid of that liquid and those excess toxins in your body. And so it builds up, which then makes it harder for the heart to pump. It also makes it harder for me to breathe, because the more liquid in my system, the less space for my heart to pump and the less space for my lungs to fully expand. I got to a stage where people were asking me if I was pregnant. It was all just fluid. So what to do? My team decided it was best to replace the old pacemaker, seeing as it only had 1 year left of battery life, and insert new leads. Perhaps that would make a difference. It didn't. From then on, I was on a steady decline. My world got smaller and smaller. I had less and less energy. Now, why didn't they list me when I was in heart failure, when I was diagnosed with heart failure? Well, you've got to be sick enough to get onto the list. You have to lose enough quality of life to be there. I went to another checkup. And I said to my doctor, when are you going to put me on the list? And he said, well, when you lose enough quality of life. Something you need to know about me. I'm a positive soul. And when you've been spending days and weeks and months in your bedroom, sleeping, fighting to breathe on oxygen, battling with everyday tasks, going to the doctor, seeing your friends, people that you know, that's exciting. I'm getting out the house. Think COVID, guys. Like, excited to get out the house. And so I was always bubbly and happy and on top of the world. People would ask me, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? I'm happy to be out. He said to me, when you lose enough quality of life. Well, I'm on oxygen 24/7. I'm sleeping 18 to 20 hours a day. I'm eating soup, porridge, and overcooked pasta because I cannot chew. It's too exhausting. I've shaved off my hair because I don't have the energy to brush it. I'm in a wheelchair if I want to go anywhere. How much more quality of life would you like me to lose? So at 28, they worked me up and I was put onto South Africa's transplant list, along with over 4,000 other people waiting. Sometimes the wait is short. I had a friend who was listed that very same week, he got his organs. Most people die waiting on that list. But I wasn't going to be one of those people. I was excited. I'm on the list, guys. I've got a second chance at life, man. I'm not going to wait that long. Average waiting period, 18 months, 2 years maximum. Awesome, I've got this. I'm on the list now. I need to be as strong, as healthy as possible to survive this earth-shattering surgery of mine. So I change my whole diet. I start doing yoga. It exhausts me, but I do it because I'm going to make it. That's who I am. But as time goes on and the waiting gets longer, 18 months passes. 2 years passes. I'm tired. I'm fighting to breathe. I'm fighting to stay alive. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm giving up. I believe in prayer or telling the universe what it is that you would like. So I say, you need to give me this transplant now, or otherwise take me home because I'm done. I'm absolutely done. When you're in a space like that, it's hard to stay positive. What did I do? I made sure I had things to look forward to, obviously. Birthdays, those are a special kind of thing to look forward to, because you know what? I made it. I had an absolute ring-dinger for my 30th. It was amazing. I had a nod to my German heritage, and we had Black Forest cake, and we had beers, and I dressed up like a beer maid, and it was great. I had the time of my life. But I needed to recover after that party. It had taken me 2 months to rest up just for that one night. And it took me another few months more to recover. So now it's Halloween weekend. I have been resting and waiting in anticipation. My friend and I, we're going to go out and celebrate Halloween. I'm going as Cruella de Vil, baby. So I'm lying on my bed, on my oxygen, nasal cannula, blowing cold air into your nose constantly. And I'm sewing this plush toy puppy onto a red coat of mine. And my mum comes in to my room and she's like, okay, that's it. You have been in here for 6 weeks. You need to get out into the fresh air and get some sunshine and get some fresh air. Mom, please, I'm trying just to save my energy. We're going out tomorrow night. Like, please, I just want to save my energy out of this bed right now. Mom, please, I will help you. Let's go. She drags me outside. Now we've got this long oxygen cord that snakes all the way through the house, and I can only just get it onto the grass, like 2 steps onto the grass outside, because that's how long the cord is. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking around, and the birds are tweeting, and there's butterflies, and the dogs are lying in the sun, and I can feel the sunshine on my back and make me nice and warm. This is life. My mom's phone rings. Now, my mom's not the type of person to step away from me when she answers the phone. This time she does. Strange. Something up? Maybe not. She's ages on the phone. Cool, I'll just stay here. I'm enjoying it. She comes back. I don't know, moms and daughters have a special bond. She has a look in her eyes, and I know. Was that the call? Yes, that was the call. But, what do you mean, but? But, we have to go for x-rays to make sure that the donor lungs will fit into your chest cavity. Okay, we'll go for x-rays. We go for x-rays, and we get back home and I decide, okay, I need to sleep. I need to calm down. I need to sleep. Because whatever happens, I'm going out tonight. I'm not going to be in this room tonight. I'm either going to go and drown my sorrows with my friends, or I'm going to be in the hospital. Calm down, Tina. Calm down. Close my eyes. I'm doing my deep breathing. My mum comes and lies down on the bed next to me. She often used to come lie down on the bed next to me. We used to have an afternoon nap together. I open my eyes. I look at my mum. She says, we're going to the hospital. Now, it takes a couple of milliseconds for me to realize what that means. We're going to the hospital. Oh, the lungs fit. Oh, transplant. Oh, get up, go. I have a bag packed, but I decide I am going to have a shower. because I know that after surgery, there is no ways you are getting anywhere near a shower for at least 5 days. Adrenaline makes you do anything. I had the best shower of my life. I washed my own hair, what little there was of it. I washed it. So, bags packed, off we go. I start phoning family and friends. My dad's in New Zealand. Phone him, like, Dad, it's happening. We're on our way to the airport, on our way to the hospital. And we, like I say, phoning family. I was so excited. I can't explain to you. Finally, I'm going to be normal. Finally, I'm going to be able to do things that everyone else does. We arrive at the hospital. For the first time in years, I walk in by myself with my bag. But we walk straight into my surgical team. They're on their way out to go and harvest the organs. And we're all excited. Yes, awesome, this is my chance. I'm ready, I can't wait. Da, 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 da. My surgeon looks at me and he says, I'm not going to know if those lungs are any good until I've opened up and had a look at them. My heart sank to the ground with a thud. Maybe this is not my chance. Maybe my friend, who's being worked up in the bed next to me, is getting the heart. And today's not my day. No, it is my day. I look at him and I say, no, they're mine. I'll see you on the other side. Have a safe flight. So we go, I get worked up. Obviously, I had the transplant. I'm standing here. That was a good day. That was a phenomenal day. Since then, I've done incredible things. I've done the Durban or the KwaZulu-Natal Amashova cycle race in 2014. In 2015, we did the Cape Town cycle tour. In 2019, I took part in the Arnold model search. So I had to go to gym and build some muscle. It took 7 weeks to build a teeny tiny bit of muscle, but I pranced on that stage in that tiny teeny bikini and showed off my scars proudly because I had a new chance at life. And I was going to honor the person that gave me that life with absolutely everything I had. The question is, if AI had been in charge or had a hand in deciding who got organs, would it have been me? No, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. I needed 3 organs. 3 organs that could have saved 3 other people. In the UK, there was a study done, and the AI objective was to save lives. So in that circumstance, 3 lives versus 1, why should they save me? They would never have. I would have fallen sadly short. In the US, they did a study where the AI's directive was to save money. And so AI was favoring people that had money to pay for their transplants or insurance to pay for their transplants instead of people that really needed it. Poor, underprivileged people. Fortunately, on that score, I would have earned points because my family had had this foresight to put me on medical aid a year before my transplant took place. I think AI is phenomenal. I use it. Oh my gosh, who doesn't write anything with ChatGPT these days? I love AI. I think it's phenomenal. But can it take away from that human perspective? We need that. We need to add that into our lives. I was speaking to my surgeon the other day about this very thing, and he said to me, there is no ways I would ever let AI make a decision like that. It doesn't take into account my experience, my knowledge, or my intuition. Doctors have a feeling. They know when a patient's going to make it and when they're not. In fact, he said to me, before I went onto the list, he said, get your mind right. Make sure your mind is right for this. It's a big, serious operation. Chances are not great. If your mind is right, you will survive this. He knows. He's seen people that physically should never have made it, but they did. And on the other side of the coin, people that were perfect, physically perfect, passed away because their mind wasn't strong enough or they'd given up. To the point where he said to me after the surgery, when I looked at your heart and lungs and saw the state of them, I actually have no idea how you were still alive. If AI had known those facts, do you think it would have voted me strong enough to make it through a massive operation like that? We cannot ignore the human experience. In fact, I use my experience now to come and do talks like this so that we can speak about organ donation and the difference that it can make. I'm making a difference in the world. I'm giving back. I help people to combat their fears. I help people get ready for surgery. And if they've been diagnosed with terminal illness, I will help them create hope so that they and their families can get through it. I am Tina Be Alive, and if you would like references to the studies that I've mentioned above, please reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Tina. I'm going to moderate from the floor for now, for those that are in the room, and then I'll move on onto the stage with you a little bit later, actually. Let me get closer while I'm there. And I get to squeeze you without stealing your breath. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go for a couple of questions, and I think I'll take from the audience first, and then we've got a WebEx audience online, so we've got some online questions as well. Are there any questions from the floor here? Olivia, do you want to take the mic to Olivia?
Sure. So you received a life-saving organ donation from a complete stranger, which is such an incredible act of kindness. And I was just curious to know how that act of kindness has shaped your views on life and your perspectives in general.
Sure. Yeah, I just, how do you ever say thank you to someone that saved your life? It's not possible. And so I will spend the rest of my life trying to give back so that I can be as kind as a perfect stranger was to me. You have to be kind to everyone because you never know who they are as well. Like I always chat to my Uber driver. They are awesome people. Whether it's the CEO or the janitor, just be kind. It'll come back to you in so many more ways. It might even save your life one day. So yeah, my view of kindness is exponentially big.
What did they say? If there's one thing in the world you can be kind.
Absolutely.
And I like that in the spaces. Any other questions from the floor? Oh, we have. Okay, we'll start with you, Stanley, then go to you, Khomotso. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story, Tina. So you said when it comes to AI, using your experience and your lived experience, if you had to plug in like an AI directive for research or anything, what would your directive be?
I think the biggest thing is that AI needs to be able to be questioned. We need to take in the experiences and the knowledge from experts around us. And we need to assess each case on its own merit. So I don't know if there is a space for AI in transplant. But yeah, I think it's vitally important that we don't let AI do all the deciding without some human input.
So I love the thoughtfulness on that around, you said earlier, depending on what it was programmed to do. So if it was programmed around saving money, if it was programmed around saving lives, or who could afford it, etc. Maybe it's about that piece that Dotanda referred to earlier around the inherent bias in terms of who programs it. So the opportunity to have enough assumptions go in so that the cone of possibility is just that, as opposed to what we think is only probable. And we can take it back to transplants, but even the Comrades Marathon, where they shot the gun early at the cutoff because from an AI perspective, they didn't expect individuals to power through. But the human spirit that you see athletes actually get over the line where it's almost absolutely unlikely is that same piece. So maybe it's not an or one or the other, but an and proposition. And even in consulting, maybe the 90% comes out of AI, but it's that 10% differentiator where we really talk about the fact that we serve people, not just businesses, and how do we bring that lens in terms of experience really to life so we make it practical and usable. AI can hallucinate, an interesting word in space. They need enough use cases not to. There aren't enough of you in the spaces. Komotso.
Thanks, Tina. I think I almost shed a tear at some point.
Sorry.
But I wanted to ask, as someone who's always anxious, were you not anxious that you wouldn't make it only because you were told you weren't going to make it to your teens and then you got to 28? Like, how do you live every day without letting that control your mind and the things that you do on a daily basis? Because I can't imagine having to put goals if I know I might not make it, to next month. So how did you do that? Yeah.
Let's not play here. I was terrified. I genuinely thought I was going to die. I had already planned my funeral at age 16. I had planned the music, the readings, the drinks, I'd planned where all my clothes were going to. I was preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, and I think that's all we can do. And then, like I say, with actual strategies, so having something to look forward to, the prospect of hope, the audacity of hope. And that's how I got through. And an amazing medical team and an amazing support system. My mum, my dad, my best friends, my partner. I wouldn't have made it. It's a team effort. It's not just me and the doctors or me and the donor. It's a massive team effort of humans.
And I find that interesting. We've done a lot of work around Board Inc., right? So you as an individual, who do you bring around you that can help you be the best self you would like to be? And you talk about that in terms of doctors, friends, family, opportunity, with hope fueling optimism, but that not being your only strategy, bringing in the expertise, the influences, the people. And maybe for everyone in the room, that's very much about that saying, no, I'm going to put in brackets, women is an island, right? We are wired for connection. We are wired as human for struggle. But the opportunity to do much more as a collective, I think, is what you've talked to here. I trust you still see your medical team all the time.
I do. Like I say, I've got them on speed dial, so we do chat.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I've got some. Yassine.
Hi, Tina. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're a very powerful storyteller. The question that I had is, you mentioned during your presentation that you were on a waiting list of more than 4,000 people. Have you seen any improvements in policy and procedure when it comes to organ donor, or the organ donor list, particularly in South Africa, since you were put on that list? And do you have any recommendations, or any, similar question over here, do you have any recommendations to improve those policies and procedures?
So South Africa is an opt-in country, and that makes everything very difficult. I believe we need to move into a space where South Africa is an opt-out country. The Constitution is very clear that we cannot take away people's choice. But if everyone was automatically an organ donor, much of the problem would go away. There has been, when I was listed, there was 0.1% of the population that were listed registered organ donors. That, in the last 12 and a half years, has increased to 0.2%. So it's a massive problem. There needs to be a lot more education in schools, in rural areas, and at hospitals, because the medical teams are not trained. I think organ donation in medical school, I think they get maybe 15 minutes that covers organ donation, and it's so much bigger than that. So I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
So in terms of opportunity, 99.8% opportunity to shift that dial. Right? If you're only at 0.2%, that really speaks volumes to everyone online, in the room, around what you think about. And organ donation spans, I've heard some of your podcasts, actual organs to tissue, etc. And the number of lives you can save from a tissue perspective, which is more than 30, is remarkable. So this is an opportunity when we reflect on what next could look like and potentially how we could contribute. And you heard Theo talk about regenerate, and that the strongest, healthiest businesses, I'm going to add, and people of the future are the ones that move to that regenerative thinking. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to think about our role in that space.
And just to add to what you're saying there, Joe, in that regenerative space, as broken and as messed up as my old heart was, they still managed to salvage 2 valves from it, one of which went into a baby in Pretoria and saved another life. So, yeah, there's always opportunity.
So to be kind and to pay it forward.
Absolutely.
In the same spaces. Got one last question from you online. Anything in the room? Okay, so maybe looking ahead is quite important in terms of some of your next step. Having received the transplants, and we've talked about how they influence some of your perspective on life and health, do you have any, outside of kindness and paying it forward and wanting to do more, and your heart valve is step 1 in that plus others, are there newfound passions or goals that you've pursued since your surgery or in the last while?
You mean other than standing on a stage in my bikini?
Other than showing off your scars and your war wounds and telling your story?
Yes, I'm following my passion. I'm following my dream. I felt so alone when I was sick, and I never wanted anyone to feel that way again, sitting in a room on their own, going through something that was absolutely terrifying. And so that's what I do with my coaching. I help people in that space, and it's so rewarding. It's draining, but it is so magically rewarding to help people come over those fears. And then, yes, speaking. I told you, I've always been dramatic. I always wanted to be on the stage, and I'm doing it every single day. I'm loving it.
Fantastic. I think one more round of applause definitely for Tina. For those of you in the room, she will be around for a little bit longer after that. I'm sure they will corner you to a large degree. I've also had the privilege of meeting an individual that you coach through the process that will speak volumes about what that journey is like when you're not doing it alone. So thank you for your contribution to humankind in the spaces that you do. And maybe with that, as we close today's session, the strongest and healthiest businesses and people, as you mentioned, think about regenerative processes. It's about looking at the future and not just responding to where we are today. It's really about building for tomorrow. And I love that story. I can picture your 10 fingers, your 10 toes being voted healthy. Fast forward to 2021. I was 21 at some point. I know a number of people I work with are much younger than I am, but I was alive, like you, for the first time we won the Rugby World Cup and a couple of other initiatives. But fast forward to that, and then you talk about how the world got smaller and smaller, as opposed to with us, it tends to get bigger and bigger as we get older. You talk about losing the quality of life, but more importantly, about being brave enough to be vulnerable. Asking for help is not just a question of necessity. It actually allows other people around you to be equally brave too. And then fast forward to your transplant, and I loved it. That was a good day. It was phenomenal. And that feeling you have when you cross a key milestone and you deliver in your spaces, I think is remarkable. Stories, good news stories, fuel hope, fuel the optimism, and really change the shape of what a future could look like. And so with that, we've seen that women's health has been historically underfunded. It's been under-researched, under-resourced. You talked about 15 minutes on organ transplants and organ donation. But the sky is the limit for breakthroughs. We mentioned the 99.8%. Imagine what we could shift in this room and online alone. So your story and others centered very much around women and understanding the health requirements in that space, and an approach to healthcare that is more inclusive, more equitable, is key. Plus, I love the Amazon CTO. So Werner Volkel said specifically, there is a need for innovation in women's health, and how we're at a very interesting moment in terms of the advent of personalized and precision medicine, where a lot of women's healthcare will actually leapfrog what's right in terms of these modern techniques. So there's an opportunity, right, to be an emblem of what good and great health could look like. AI can be beneficial, making the right judgment calls with a diversity, equity, and inclusive lens if we focus on the biases, the input, and the human-centered element that is key. So how do we accelerate that in gender and health and make it actually worth its while in terms of delivering on what's possible as opposed to counting out the possible in the spaces? So more advocacy is important in terms of a global call. More local regulation, we talked about opt-out as opposed to opt-in. And more women and girls that participate in the process are key. A life cycle approach from the 10 fingers and 10 toes to what it might mean when you're heading to your 80s and 90s and your expectation either of pacemakers, etc. So challenging the stigma throughout the spaces. Here's to women's health. Here's to the men in the room that contribute to a more inclusive, equitable society and how we leverage not just technology, but the collective wisdom, experience, expertise, and knowledge of those around us in R&D, in research, and beyond, to create a movement as opposed to just an intervention that changes women's health for the better. Thank you very much to everyone online that has joined us today for an International Women's Day celebration on the 8th of March. Thank you to all in the room who have made the time to get to know you a little bit better, Tina B. And more importantly, thank you for sharing your stories. Stories hover and resonate long after they've been told. And I hope a number of us tend to take these away and tell them to the people we know. So here's to a brighter future. And to quote what Nortando said much earlier, it's not about one or the other, it's about collaboration. It's about inspiring inclusion in a future that works for all. Blind to gender, but human-centered. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you very much.